Many fictitious depictions of the future show us throwing back pills in the place of real food, but yet we're consistently told to gain as many nutrients as we can from natural sources. But then again, Brian Johnson takes over 100 supplements a day, so does he know something we don't? Today, we're going to break down whether science has really streamlined nutrition or whether the simplest way is still the healthiest. Welcome back. As always, I am Tom, and I have wanted to do this video for a while because I've always been curious as to how effective synthetic supplements are. The average person takes between 1 and 3 supplements a day, and I'm curious as to how much of this is backed by science and how much of this is just following trends. For example, an orange has 90 micrograms of vitamin C, but a vitamin C supplement can pack up to 1,000 micrograms. So does this mean that the supplement is 10 times more effective and beneficial for us than the orange? That's what we're going to unpack. So what is an essential nutrient? Before I dive into that, I wanted to clarify the difference between a vitamin and a mineral, both of which fall under the umbrella of nutrients, but both of which have different roles within the body. Vitamins are like the body's software, helping to run the biochemical processes that keep us alive. Now, these are synthesized from plants and animals, meaning that they produce them organically through metabolic processes. For example, an orange produces vitamin C thanks to the vitamins and minerals that it gains from the soil. Minerals, on the other hand, are like the body's hardware, building bones and controlling physiological processes. And these are inorganic, so are found naturally in the soil or water. As mentioned, both of these fall under the label of nutrient, which is how I'm going to be referring to them from now on. Now, a nutrient is classified as essential if the body cannot synthesize it naturally, meaning it must come from the diet so that we can maintain good health. There are 13 different essential nutrients that you're seeing pop up in front of you. I won't go into detail as to why each one is essential, but I will leave a link to a site that can go into that detail if you are curious to check out more. And we do have a separate classification of nutrients which are conditionally essential, meaning that we do synthesize these naturally, but not in the quantity that the body needs. And so this is where we need to look to the diet or other sources to supplement externally. A couple of examples here are biotin and K2, both of which are produced by gut bacteria, but not in the quantities that we need. And so this is where we need to look to additional supplementation to maintain good brain and liver health. Probably the most recognizable conditionally essential nutrient is vitamin D, and the condition here is where you live. So if you're living in Scandinavia or Northern Europe, you will have to supplement this, especially in the winter. But if you're on the other side of the world, maybe California or Australia, you might not even have this need to supplement at all. Vitamin D helps our bodies to absorb calcium and phosphate, which are critical for maintaining bone health and controlling inflammation. And new research is even linking it to brain development and muscle function. So if you don't get enough vitamin D naturally, supplementation is definitely advised. Now, there are quite a few differences and conditional differences within men and women, meaning they do need different quantities of the same nutrient. The largest discrepancies being vitamin A, where women typically require less due to smaller liver stores and lower metabolic turnover. However, this requirement does change during pregnancy. Pregnancy also acts as a catalyst for temporarily increasing women's need for vitamins B12 and C, respectively, due to an increased need for hormone regulation. Vitamin K is also one of the largest discrepancies, with vitamin K being responsible for blood clotting and bone metabolism. Women typically require less due to, on average, lower muscle mass and lower bone turnover. Iron is obviously one of the minerals that women require more of due to the loss of blood through menstruation. However, in menopause, this need drops down equal to the men's requirement. Zinc is actually critical for testosterone synthesis, and so men will need more due to its role in sperm production and hormone balance. Magnesium actually regulates over 300 enzymatic reactions within the body, including muscle function, mood, and sleep. And due to the stress and hormonal shifts caused by menstruation, women will also need more than men. So how do synthetic supplements differ from whole natural foods? Now, the majority of synthetic supplements target one nutrient in particular, and so they're great for targeting specific deficiencies. But when we're talking about the entire nutritional benefits, whole foods are completely unmatched. Firstly, whole foods contain a matrix of vitamins, minerals, enzymes, and fiber that all work together to enhance the individual benefit of each nutrient. Let's take an orange, for example. An orange very famously contains vitamin C, but also contains folate, thiamine, potassium, magnesium, calcium, flavonoids, and fiber, unlike a vitamin C supplement. What's really interesting here is how these nutrients work synergistically. For example, the flavonoids will slow down the rate of vitamin C absorption, which increase its antioxidant potency. This reduces oxidative stress and enhances cell repair much better than a vitamin C supplement. Let's also take calcium and vitamin C. By absorbing both together, vitamin C actually enhances calcium absorption to support collagen production, which is critical for bone matrix integrity. Folate is also sensitive to oxygen, and so when it's absorbed with vitamin C, it's actually protected during digestion, meaning more is digested overall. And these aren't even all the synergistic benefits that the nutrients of an orange has, so imagine how this effect compounds with the more whole foods you eat. One synergistic effect that a lot of these whole foods have in common is the effect that fiber has on nutrient absorption, slowing down digestion and enhancing nutrient availability, making it critical for cognitive function and endurance. As well as enhancing nutrient absorption, fiber also feeds beneficial gut bacteria which produce short-chain fatty acids. These short-chain fatty acids then strengthen the gut barrier, reducing inflammation, and then also increase our nutrient transport efficiency, which is a huge reason as to why you feel very satiated and full after consuming fiber, which is definitely not something that a supplement can do. Nutrients from food are also a lot more bioavailable, which means that a greater proportion of them are absorbed by the body. And this is mainly due to the existence of cofactors such as fiber, enzymes, and polyphenols. Actually, this difference in bioavailability is one of the main reasons why the supplement dosage is usually a lot higher than the recommended daily amount or RDA for that nutrient. With the low bioavailability, meaning a lot of that supplement is wasted because very little is actually absorbed by the body. Now, this isn't the only reason, of course. These RDAs are based on averages, and certain people will have made lifestyle choices that will put their requirements for these nutrients above and beyond the RDA. For example, if you're a professional athlete and you've got an intense training regime, this will increase the requirement for certain nutrients above and beyond this RDA. Likewise, if you've got a restrictive diet like veganism, this could also tamper with the requirements. RDAs are, after all, designed to prevent deficiency and not to optimize performance. And so there are certain people, for instance, that might need more vitamin B12 to combat fatigue, or certain people who might need more vitamin D to support their immune function. There is an arm of this linked to marketing, though, with some supplements being marketed as more effective due to their high dosage, even though the low bioavailability means a lot of that supplement is wasted, which brings up an interesting question around which supplement company to trust. When looking for a high-quality supplement, the detail is going to be the dead giveaway. With vague seals such as quality assured with no scientific or regulatory reference, usually just being marketing fluff. The same as how lab tested usually refers to internal testing which can't be verified or independent. When it comes to third-party testing, obviously the main regulatory bodies are going to differ depending on where in the world you are, but these are the main trusted bodies within the UK and the US. The certification from this third party will speak to its purity as well as the absence of heavy metals or banned substances. When you're looking into the right supplement company to trust, ideally, you'd like bioavailable forms, as this is going to mean that more of the nutrient is absorbed and less is wasted. Whole food blends would be perfect, but I am fully aware that these are generally harder to find and more expensive. Any that include artificial colors, sweeteners, or a substance called titanium oxide should be avoided, because these substances interfere with the absorption of the nutrient and can cause inflammation. Supermarket-owned brands are generally the worst offenders for this, as the testing they undergo is not going to be as rigorous as third-party companies. And they're much more interested in the repeat purchase of this, hence the likelihood of them having sweeteners. The main reason we want to avoid any low-quality supplements is because we're not 100% sure what they contain. And so aside from the risk of contamination, there's also the risk that it could interfere with any medication you're currently taking. When you're looking into and researching these companies to trust, I implore you to do your own research, as if you go off what you hear on social media, a lot of your favorite influencers will have affiliations with these companies, and so the information that they tell you will be inherently biased because they will probably get money off the referrals. And of course, there's also the risk of over-supplementation, which, given that the dosage is usually so far above the recommended daily amounts, is definitely possible with synthetic supplements. The consequences of over-supplementation do, of course, differ per nutrient, but a couple of the most common consequences include nausea and gastrointestinal distress. Instead of giving you every consequence per nutrient, I'm just going to give a couple of examples of what these consequences can be. The first is that over-supplementation can mask other deficiencies and obscure root causes. So for example, if you're over-supplementing on iron to combat fatigue, you could be masking a B12 deficiency. And so the symptoms of liver overload and joint pain from consuming too much iron become a lot more difficult to diagnose. There are some which have more long-term effects if they're consumed in excess. For example, excess consumption of selenium can lead to hair loss and insulin resistance. And if you're over-consuming on manganese, then excess can build up in the brain, which will then impair your motor functions. It's definitely more difficult to over-supplement when you're just consuming whole foods, mainly due to the presence of fiber and this feeling of satiation, meaning you physically can't eat that much more than you're supposed to. Therefore, if you are supplementing a specific nutrient to address a specific deficiency, I would look up the risk threshold for that specific nutrient and just be aware of the dosage that you're taking. One thing I don't want to do with this video is demonize supplements, because there is definitely a place for them. We should, of course, be looking to get the vast majority of essential nutrients from our diet, but I know that for some this simply isn't possible. For example, a lot of people in my part of the world will supplement vitamin D, especially in the winter, due to the low levels of sunlight. And there will be certain lifestyle choices or restrictive diets, meaning that your specific requirements for these nutrients will increase above and beyond everyone else's. The smartest way to go about this is to actually get your blood work done. Don't just react to the fact that you have a different diet or that you have a specific event that you might be training for. Even if you have no lifestyle factors that could change your requirement, it's still a good idea to get this blood work done just to see if you've got any natural deficiencies or if there are any nutrients you could just do with having more of. Off the back of this blood work, consult with your doctor on how best to address any potential deficiencies before going out and finding these supplement companies that are publishing their test credentials and their ingredients, making sure you know where the risk threshold is. There is definitely a place for supplementation in a healthy life, but it has to be approached with the right mindset. I'm actually getting my blood work analyzed at the moment, and so if that turns out with any particular deficiencies for myself, I'll walk you through the process of how I'm going to address that and which companies I'm going to go to. Catch you next time.